I'm Angel from Inovasi Venture. We are building a co-investment platform that educates new family offices or high net worth individuals. Now, maybe scrap that. Maybe more towards anyone that wants to invest their own personal money into the ecosystem. So that's what we are building. But in this session, I'm going to Juliana and Renuka and Nadia. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So maybe let's start with Linda.
Hi everyone. Saturday afternoon, but let me introduce myself first. Okay, my name is Haslinda Rasip. I'm the co-founders and director of technology for Droppy. Droppy is a platform that focuses on digitalizing the B2B businesses, and we want to make the wholesale easy for everyone. My role in Droppy, I'm director of tech, so I'm overseeing and strategizing, managing all aspects of technologies in Droppy. So under my division, I'm overseeing the engineering, data, and product. And what I like about being in Droppy is I have opportunity to build something that my customer love, and it's a mysterious world of the wholesale. It's very mysterious. I've been in tech for over 20 years. This is the first startup that I did something I really need to learn from zero of the industry knowledge domain. But there's something that is challenging. I've been, like I say, 28 over in tech, doing tech since year 2000, graduated from software engineering, computer science. That's why I'm in industry and find the industry like challenging enough for me to stay until today. So that's about me. Maybe next person.
Should I just go introduce myself? I'm Juliana. I'm a VP of Grant in Cradle Fund Sdn Bhd. Cradle Fund is a funding agency in university. I've been in this space for over 20 years. Prior to Cradle, I was also in an agency that actually invests in tech companies. So also I was doing quite a bit of tech evaluation prior to that. So yeah, that's my background.
Okay, maybe I'll just go next. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Renuka is my name, but I find it very difficult to be called Renuka most of the time because everyone calls me Renu. So I am the CEO and founder of Proficeo. Proficeo basically is an ecosystem builder. We have been around since 2008. We run various programs, including the program with Cradle called Coach and Grow program. We have seen over 800 entrepreneurs come through various Proficeo programs. So they are technology entrepreneurs, we've got micro businesses, social enterprises, brick and mortar. I've seen them all. And what I love about what I do is that, you know, every time we start a new program, we can actually see a lot of new entrepreneurs come in. And you know, it's been great actually. From the time we started, I was thinking about it. There are a lot more women entrepreneurs nowadays and a lot more women entrepreneurs in tech, which is wonderful to see. We also have another venture with my other partners called Scale Up Malaysia. And Scale Up Malaysia, basically we've just completed 2 cohorts. And in our second cohort, actually about 60% of our cohort were actually women founders. So I'm very happy about that. Nadia, over to you.
Yeah, that's really impressive and very encouraging to hear. I'm Nadia, the co-founder and CEO for a fintech company called Pod. Basically, what Pod is a financial well-being platform aimed to help the gig workers in Southeast Asia to live a financially fair life. So what we do is we help them save money, we help them borrow in case of emergency, as well as consume other financial products that can benefit them, like insurance, investments, etc. So we work with multiple gig platforms. We started in 2018 with just savings proposition, and now we are also offering a Sharia payday microfinancing to help them bridge the gap, especially given the current scenario of fluctuating of earnings and income for this segment. What I love about my job, I think, is I'm constantly proven wrong. When we walk in with certain hypotheses, at the moment we roll it out to users, those assumptions were just proven wrong over and over again. So it's always day one for me. It's always a learning experience, and that's what I enjoy about building this venture. So what do we do now?
Can you get my connection so bad? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
For everyone
Maybe
in the
we should
room.
just like talk about
Yeah, just alert everyone in the room that basically our Women in Tech session
Am I breaking
are having
constantly?
technical difficulties.
Yes.
Yes, Angel.
Oh my gosh. Can you guys hear me now?
yes.
Yeah, now we can.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can hear you, so let's go.
So I'm very proud to present that in this panel, we actually have people from community building side. We have startups, female founders. We also have Juliana from government grant. And it's a very diverse panel. Like, what brings you into this industry? What do you like about this industry? Perhaps Linda, you could go ahead.
I guess for me, because I'm really in technology, right? In the product development and engineering. So what makes me interested to stay in the industry is the challenge. I think in 20 years of me working in tech, I think women bring different perspective in the engineering side, in the product development side, and it is very important actually to have somebody from diverse groups of people in developing a solution. So and another one is I guess is a challenge that been thrown to us. Like for example in Droppy is very people will think, oh, it's just a simple e-commerce. But when into detail, if you want to be a good B2B platform, is really, really different. You can't just take any e-commerce and put out there and then claim it is as B2B. But that's something that across my 20 years, I find that female developers and UX designers are more detailed in understanding the new process. And of course, it needs the male part also, because it needs to be balanced. I guess I'm staying because I think it's important. And I think I'm doing something good as women.
Wow.
Yeah.
Linda, do you want to share more, like how can you, juggle your hands with managing a Series A company? You're doing your PhD. That's wow. Plus, most importantly, like we are so lacking of tech female entrepreneurs, and you are literally in it. What are the tips that you would give to your, let's say, your kids or even other young female entrepreneurs that are in your shoes right now?
One thing I can say is passion. If you have passion, you will do whatever you can to do what you need to do. And thank God have Google Calendar that can arrange everything, organize everything. And juggling everything is, when you do the prioritization of things, it helps. It helps you to balance between the family and your my work in Droppy, doing the fundraising and everything, technical, and also further my studies, and also helping other startups that I think need wants my help. It is passion. You have passion, you can do it. That's my advice to whoever that wants to do multitasking things in tech careers.
Thanks for sharing, Linda. And over to you, Juliana. What brings you into the scene?
As mentioned, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have a lot of startups who actually ask me why I'm still doing this. Honestly, yeah, I think Linda hit it spot on. I think it's passion. For me personally, after all the companies that we funded, of course, you don't expect everybody to excel, right? But the fact that you are able to see their journey, you are able to see the pain, not just the glory of fundraising, of success and all that. I think personally also it's a learning thing for me. Despite doing again similar things over the years, but I think I'm still learning as well, looking at the various problems that startups are trying to solve and the pain again, the journey itself, right? So it's as if, although it's not me going through the journey, but it's as if you're looking at your baby going through the hardship, and when they are successful, you are happy. So those are the things that I think by accident actually. When I first joined Cradle many years ago, it was by accident. Because I didn't know anything about Cradle at that point in time. But it was a leap of faith. So, but 16 years later, I'm still here doing. Yeah, but like I say, it's loving what I do. Thinking that the little things that we do make a difference. Hopefully, yeah. So.
Miss Renuka, I would really want to hear it from you as well. I mean, you and Juliana probably have been in the scene the longest.
Yes. So prior to joining or prior to starting Proficeo, I was I'm a IP lawyer by qualification, and I had my own consultancy where I was working a lot with technology entrepreneurs. And I think that when you work with technology entrepreneurs, the first thing that you see from all of them, very very similar to what Juliana said, is how excited they are about birthing baby and then growing their baby. And when you work with just the IP side of things, it's like you only see such a small part of it. You were so curious about how they went on, and also I hated actually being a consultant, because a consultant comes in and then they go out. So Dr. Siva and I started Proficeo in 2008 because we felt that a lot of start at that point in time. Essentially, there were a lot of early stage grants. At that point, Cradle only had the 150, and so there was a spurring, in a sense, of the ecosystem to see a lot more people thinking about forming it up, building technology, and they needed help. Because they all techies, I think, understand tech. They don't necessarily understand how to grow and build their business, and that's how we started Proficeo. And all those years down, I think what I love about my job. So I'm, if you call me Miss Renu, I'm called Mama Renu in my little ecosystem, because I said to you, I have the best job in the world. I can scold people and they say thank you. So I love the fact that every new cohort that comes in is a new journey for me, just like Ju. I see so many different entrepreneurs come in and go out. I get to see and be proud of them as they grow and raise their funds, and I see them in the media. So it's honestly the best feeling in the world working with entrepreneurs, because you feel off their passion. You build with them, even though it's in the sidelines. They call you first when they have a problem. They called you first when they've scored a project. It's wonderful. I never know who's going to call me in the day, but it's great anticipating who that's going to be.
Comparing the ecosystem on, maybe let's say 15 years back versus right now, which one is friendlier, or which one is doing better, or which part we can actually do better?
I think the entrepreneurs who started all those years ago, 15 years ago, they had a lot less. Entrepreneurs now have a lot more. I don't necessarily know whether it's better or worse, because I think the good entrepreneurs will always find a way. But because we have Malaysian entrepreneurs, I think, are extremely lucky. There are a lot of programs, there's a lot of funds, there's a lot of initiatives that give them what they need to grow. But I suppose the downside of that is that when you're given everything, it's just like kids spoon-fed, kan? It's once you're given everything, you become less hungry because you're being fed all the time or you're given so much. So I think that the balance should be that there needs to be, I suppose, more inclusive ecosystem to ensure that not everyone is given everything, but the best get given more to help them grow.
Understand. Thanks for sharing. And Nadia, share us, why did you start up your own startup? You know, like you were from also a corporate kind of life, right? And why? What made you come out and be your own boss? You know?
Yeah. So there are two separate questions essentially. So why did I chose entrepreneurship? Because I was just generally very curious. So happened when I was at Nomura, where I was before Pod. So I was working for a Japanese fund management firm overlooking investments for the likes of EPF, central bank, etc. So my desk is actually across from the global portfolio equity manager. So every Monday, he and his team will do a stand-up and they'll discuss tech companies, the buy and sell list, etc. So at that time, I think it was Snapchat that went IPO'd. So I was very curious as to, because they were asking things like, oh, Nadia, do you use Snapchat? And what do you think about the user experience, etc. And I was really curious as to why are they interested in this company? Because the fundamentals by which they evaluate typical companies were not there. So the companies were loss-making, but then, they evaluate a certain amount. So they want to find, pockets to identify and justify the valuation to decide whether to buy it or not. So that sort of sparked my curiosity into the tech world, and I went into a rabbit hole trying to basically get different type of tech companies, etc. And so happened at the time I was also facing a work challenge. So my team at the time were thinking, okay, now that we have you on the team, now we've always been very focused on institution. Can you figure out how do we get individuals and young people to start investing? So we built a pseudo robo-advisory in-house, which failed miserably, but a separate discussion completely. And then that was also the opportunity that I had to get my hands dirty on building something. And I felt like I was addicted to that process of, just building something, push it out, burn to the ground, back in the drawing board, try again and push it out. So I enjoyed that process. And I think it almost accidental, as per what also Juliana mentioned, whereby I face a problem that I would love to solve for myself, and that was how the venture sort of started. Yeah.
Wow. And you know what, Linda, mind sharing more about your experience on how did you came out with the two other founders, and how did Droppy come by?
Mm-hmm. When I met Lenise and Aizat, I think about 4 years ago, they were just exiting from their previous ventures. And at that time, I was providing service, CTO as a service to few startups and happily doing consultation and CTO job for a few companies. And they came to my office, and then we start thinking on what business we want to do. And it's just, it just click that we realize that we can work together, and we decide to start a ventures together. And it's actually start with fried chicken business, and then after that it becomes drop shipping, and then it becomes Droppy, as everyone knows now is a B2B marketplace. But it started with something silly, like making jokes, try to find chicken supply, and you cannot get a good price. And then we realized that, that's wholesale that nobody actually tried to digitalize properly. They do it in the way that e-commerce style, right? So the mysterious need to be broken up and understand. So we run Droppy business. Okay. So that's how I know my partners.
How do you, maybe let me ask more, how do you call, female empowerment kind of question. Do you think women in general or even the minorities are well represented in this startup ecosystem? What do you guys think? Anyone can chime in, feel free.
I might have a different opinion than other people, but I think the numbers is small for certain reason, not because of anything actually.
Okay.
It's because women choose not to stay in tech. Women choose not to stay long in tech because we decide on other path. And when people talk about represent the industries, represented as what? Because I guess those who really in the industry do very, very well. But those who are not is because they don't want to be in the industry.
Why do you think that is the case? Like, why do you want to be in the industry?
Well, to tell you honestly, on the 6 years of my careers, I decide to take a break because I have kids and I decide to be a full-time housewife. It's just happened that I can't survive staying at home taking care of my kids, and I jump back into the career world. But there's a lot of women out there, they are happily taking care of their kids, doing a lesser workload or effort need careers so that they can focus on family. I know good engineers out there that like leaving the careers simply because to spend time and taking care of their families. But that's on the IT world. That's on the engineering side. That's what I find out. Yeah.
Okay. Just curious, why do you think is the industry of tech, it's not that sexy, or maybe it's not what your mom wants, or maybe through social media platform you see girls or female, there's a certain way that the public perceive a female is like maybe more feminine and doing some more different stuff. Maybe they don't really picture engineers as the role model. Is that a reason why people don't really want to go into engineering? I mean, I haven't seen a kid telling me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be an engineer. It's like, I haven't heard of that before yet. It's like lawyer, doctor, and what else?
If I can answer that one, I think because engineering is very subjective. Even if you go through engineering departments for Droppy and Pot, it's totally different. How do you explain something that's totally different? So there's never ending of learning, unlearn and relearn of things if you want to stay in engineering. Yeah.
I think that's very cool. Like, besides painting the like engineering to your kids itself, it's actually not just sitting behind a desk and whatsoever. It's actually problem solving. And why are we painting it like kind of a boring subject where actually they are doing great things like building robots, or I think stuff like this are very cool. And Nadia, what brings you into fintech itself? Like, why fintech? Why did you come up with this business model where you want to kind of help? Your business model is mainly to help the underserved community to underwrite to get this thing. So tell us more about why that.
Yeah, so I would like to piggyback on the point you mentioned just now about role models, right? I think that's one of the core reasons why we don't see a lot more active participation for female in tech, and why they wanted to stay on board, because there's just no, they can't imagine what it looks like career progression wise, or what's next for them after carrying a certain role over a period of time. So I think having people like Haslinda, even Renu, people who are on the ground, who are constantly working on the business, supported by people like Juliana, who's constantly looking out to ensure that women founded or women backed business are constantly on the radar. I think that's really healthy. So I think it's a collaborative effort by everyone to, number one, make sure that there's constant supply of role models, so that people who want to enter the space can see, oh, this is exactly what it looks like. Just how we look at the likes of Elon, the like of Jeff Bezos. So you need to have someone up there who has done it, so that other people who wants to pursue something feels like it can be done. So one of the reasons why we started Pot was also because of that. I mean, primarily for me, I'm curious about how do we empower the life of the people who are essentially invisible with banking segment? Because I was previously with financial institutions, so we only look at certain customer segment because they make our P&L look great. So outside of that, how do we start serving people who are majority of that's not covered by our existing business model as financial institutions? So that's how I stumbled across the likes of gig workers, not just limited to the riders and the delivery guys, but also freelancers, for example, or people who don't have traditional work that give them pay slip and paycheck at the end of the month. They are also excluded from the existing financial ecosystem. So the whole idea around POT is just how do we bring them back in and then give them the products and solutions that they need. So some of them, when I sit with them and ask questions like, what are your vision doing this? So some of the Foodpanda riders, we just recently onboarded Foodpanda as one of our partners. So it's quite an enjoyable conversation where some of them were thinking about even moving into the nano micro SME space, for example. So how do we, as an enabler, building and riding on tech, be able to supplement the gap that maybe financial institutions today, because of risk and compliance, cannot address this segment? So that's what I believe POT can assist in the industry.
Okay. And another question for Juliana and Miss Renuka. Sorry, Renuka, I'm canceling the Miss right now. I'm sorry. And just curious, how does maybe you guys as startup enabler, community builder, and also Juliana from the government grant side, how are you guys, addressing maybe diversity and inclusion? Do you guys maybe have a certain percentage reserved for female founders, or how does it work? Is there maybe having Juliana at the top is actually like the advantage already, so that we don't actually need to have this kind of measures to support female founders? But do we need that?
Hang on. Okay. We internally do not have quotas, but typically because if we look at Cradle itself, the balance of not men versus women lah, but the fact that equal representation for women at all levels, from the board, from the management, from the team. I think most of it is actually 50% women. But personally, a lot of the female, I would say the leaders, the board members, they are pushing for more approvals for women founders. But again, like I mentioned, there's no sort of quotas or policies in place. But us, typically the women, right, will be the quiet cheerleaders of other female founders. We're always like, oh, there's another woman. What else? And typically, if they want to reach out, they typically reach out to another female. I don't know whether there's any reason for that, but typically, if they say, oh, I need some help, I think they're more comfortable talking to another female. That's how we try to support each other for the founders. Yeah. Probably Renu, not sure whether you guys have any quotas.
No, there are no any quotas for any of our programs. But I just want to kind of jump also into that, that conversation about role models. And I think that the difference between having female role models is actually having them talk about the sort of things that Linda was talking about just now. How do you actually find a balance? And the fact that it's not just to show that a female founder or a co-founder can be part of a startup that becomes successful, but what did she have to do in order to balance becoming that successful company? Did she have to give up? So there's a question that, whenever I'm on a panel for, that represents sort of a topic on female founders or women in tech or things like that, I dread a question which is, how do you balance your family life together with and I can see everyone smiling, right? Because those are the questions that are always asked. And And I suppose we have to think to ourselves, why is that question asked? And I think the question is because female founders are very different from male founders. I think what Linda said just now, female founders, I think they take on a little bit more than they should in terms of a burden. They feel responsible for every aspect of their work and life. You ask any female founder or any female person in a job, right? So what's the difference between what you have to do if you're thinking of taking a day off compared to what your male founder would have to do? And you just look around the room, Angel. Everyone on this panel is nodding and saying, because a female founder will have to think about, okay, if I'm going to disappear for a day, I have to make sure that everything in the office is okay. Like, I've done all of my jobs. I've delegated everything. If I want to take a day off from home, then I've got to make sure that, there's enough food, there's medicine in the house in case the kids go. So it's like anticipating everything, and this is a female trait. There's nothing good or bad about it, but this is a female trait because they're nurturers, or we are nurturers. We think 10 steps ahead, and for any one of us who wants to take a day off, it's like you sleep at 3 o'clock just to take a day off, and you're too exhausted to actually enjoy your day off, right? So role models, I feel, should actually talk about the real issues so that the younger generation of women do actually understand that it is possible. It is possible because you rely on the community around you. I heard an interview once from the CEO of PepsiCo, and she said basically, without 3 of her assistants plus 10 apps, she would not be able to actually manage her life because I think there's also a lot of guilt that we put on ourselves. You feel guilty when you're at work because you're not at home. You feel guilty when you're at home because you're not at work. So I think role models should talk about the real issues, and then we will see more female founders feel empowered that they also can do it. And it's not just about the fundraising and the fact that they got to certain stages, new country and all of those things. That one everyone knows.
Nadia, what do you think about the fundraising landscape? Like when you were, because you are both 2 female founders team, and there's no guy in your team as in the founding team, if I'm remembering correctly. And during fundraising, is there any issues that you are facing or?
Yeah, so the reason why there's a 2 female team, not by design, it's not that we simply just this male counterparts. We've had a few trial and error with a bunch of people. It's just that the 2 of us make a really good combination. So Yingting, my co-founder, we've known each other a little over 11 years now. So we've met a while back when we were both studying together during A levels. So fundraising, honestly, has been a really colorful experience. We've had a fair share of, I wouldn't say discriminations, but the tonality of the conversation is a bit different. And I believe male founders would not have that conversation. And I'm also, on the other hand, has been very fortunate that my existing investors are all male, and they have been nothing but a complete support for me and my co-founder and the entire business. So yes, I think there's of both. It just depends on how do you want to, what sort of lens do you want to look into as. So for example, when we walk into a room, we never really just think that, if the decision doesn't go to our favor, we don't think the immediate thought, because we're female. So we try to be objective about the situation first and fix the gap. And then when it's blatantly obvious, and I will share with you what that looks like. If it's really obvious to that point, then we dismiss it. Like we don't really pay a lot of attention to it. But it points to there's weight to the rejection or to the not now, maybe later sort of conversation, then we'll take it seriously and be objective about the feedback. So the blatant sessions that we've had, one of it was me and my co-founder, when are we planning to get married? So we thought that was, we find it a bit weird, but we just said, oh, okay, not that it's any of your business, but okay. And then he said, oh, because if you're getting married in a year or two, I don't think I will fund your business, because most of the time, female founders who get married will, sort of dwindle away from the business. So they will start either slowing down or looking for immediate exit, which I think is a fair thought, but I don't think that the outcome is let's not invest in female founders. Let's find ways, right, by which if you still want them to be able to be invested in the business, and then maybe look at their personal goals as well. Perhaps even after they've settled down, they still want to be in the business. There's another occasion by which previously our CTO was living abroad, so we were, during the whole session, I keep reiterating saying that we're doing our very best to bring the CTO back to Malaysia because we're a tech company. The question to that was, you keep mentioning that you want to bring your male CTO back here. Is he your boyfriend? So in my mind, I said, if I'm and actually I voiced this out because at that point in time I felt like there's nothing to lose. So I said, well, I believe if I were to be a male, so saying that I'm trying to bring my female CTO over to Malaysia because it's more efficient that way, this will not be an issue, and it would not even be a question. It just makes sense. So I think, and then they'll dismiss it as a joke. So to me, I think that we move along from the incident. It's never really something that harbors in my mind. But I think the ability to just be objective first, unless and until I'm, blatantly affronted by such feedback, then that's just how it has been with regards to fundraising. Yeah.
Hey, just out of curiosity, Juliana, I have a question for you. Since you're from the government agency, I just realized that just now you mentioned more than 50% of your company is actually females. And comparing with, let's say, the private sector side, the VC private sector side, there are like less than 5 female VCs that are in the partner level. While, at the government side, we have Zuleira, we have Rafiza, we have you, we have. Why is it the difference? Is government is working in the government agency is actually more kind of empowering there?
I personally think there's a conscious effort by the government, at least in the last few years, I would have to say in the last 3-4 years, to make it more inclusive for women to hold a more I would say to have a balance of power between the two genders. Right? So I think it's more of a conscious effort by the government. I'm not sure about the private sector, whether there's anything or whether they're doing something about it. Yeah, but on the government side, yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And there is one question for you, Linda. Since you're also a mother, and I'm just very curious, how when you teach, I assume that your kids are still in their K-12 years.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of how do you encourage them to understand more about what you built in the company? Besides the typical boring few careers like doctors and lawyers. How are you telling your kid your mom built Droppy platform and Droppy platform literally. How do you tell them that?
Well, my husband is also in tech. He's a software engineer. So what we did is we always tell our kids what we are doing, and we run a lot of games actually to explain to them, because I believe that the technology skills in their era will be something that must have.
Linda, I don't hope you tell your kids to program their own games so that they can play games.
Oh, they can actually. Can actually. So because my kids are already 18, 14, and 6. So it's quite like almost adult now. But from day one, we want them to understand, because we believe this is something that need to be built from young. So there's always games by age to understand about me, to understand about transactions. So any of my kids, especially the number 1 and number 2, if they want anything, they need to pitch to us. And they are giving money monthly, like salary, since they 12 old. And if they want to do anything, they need to work for it. So one of the things is when they have exercise on building games using Scratch. So they need to pitch after that. Okay, this is the game. How much you want to invest, mom? And rationalize from there. It's an experiment, but I think it works for my kids, and they understand on what mamas is doing and ayah is doing. But not until understand everything about droppy, right? But you know how the thought process is there, and it's just like building up from there. Yeah.
Do you think having parents that are in the STEM background actually benefits the kids into going to STEM in the future? What do you guys think?
In my case, yes, because we understand what is good and what is not. For parents who doesn't have STEM, they need to rely on the secondary experience or knowledge that they read from somewhere. So that may be right or wrong, or like good or bad for the kids. They don't have actual facts. So for me, it's good to have that.
Okay. What about the rest of you guys? What do you guys think? Do you guys have STEM parents? I mean, why tech? There is financial sectors. There's like the rest. Why tech?
So my parents are teachers, very, very, very far away from entrepreneurship. And I did the traditional of becoming a lawyer first, not liking it, and then jumping into something that I love doing now. So I think that parents as role model are actually very important. With me, kids love, especially my son, he loves sitting in, this past like 1.5 years, right? Been doing so much online, and I can turn off the camera. And they will sit and listen to pitches with me. And I will ask them to actually evaluate the pitches. And it's like, so would you invest? If you had money, would you invest? Why would you invest? Why would you not invest? And, for me, I feel that with kids, you just need to give them awareness.
Renu, are they starting to fundraise already for their?
They haven't started to fundraise, but I am teaching them about every aspect of if you want to start a business. So I made them like literally we have mangoes in the house. We pluck all the mangoes and went to the park, and I said, okay, so which is the best place for you to go and find your customers? We moved the stall literally from one place to another. And at the end of that whole exercise, Angel, they actually came and said to me, when you go to the park, the best location is not where they are going in because they're not interested to actually buy. It's where they're coming out. And when they're coming out, you must be in front of the old Chinese auntie because they will be interested to actually talk to you and buy something from you. You go to the men, they're like, no, thank you. No, thank you. So it's like, understanding your customer, understanding your market, understanding how to pitch. I really think that everyone should give their kids that exposure. And I love the fact that in schools now, coding is actually part of the syllabus that they are making kids aware of. Even though it's not part of the core syllabus, it is co-curriculum.
Tell us more about the school curriculum.
So co-curriculum nowadays in all schools, they provide, whether it's Scratch or whether it's some other kind of coding, they do make kids aware of the fact that coding is something which, it's going to become the norm in the future, right? I think all kids will have to understand some form of coding. And that, I think, will definitely encourage a lot more kids into STEM.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And, Juliana, I want to know more from you as well. Do you have a STEM background parents, or how are you heading or training your kids if you have kids?
My mom used to work in oil and gas. My dad was a police officer, so obviously it's not.
That is a very strongly background.
But my kids, I think because it's a mixture of me and their father. So one is more into the creative side. The other one is more of that. So I think it's a balance again.
When you're creative, what type of creative side? Which?
She likes to do a lot of DIY. She's into, she creates, because I'm like, I think like Linda and Renu, right? When they want something, I always tell them, no, you have to tell me why. You have to tell me how much you have to save your money. Because again, every month they have an allowance. So And you know how much is allowance, right? Because they're primary 6, so I'm only giving them a little because I know how difficult it is for people to get money. So typically, they have to tell me, okay, I want this, I want that, but I think even if they save like 4 months, they can't get whatever they want to buy. You know, kids nowadays, right? So the other one would actually build certain things. She built her own dollhouse. She built her own all these things, slimes, and you know, kids.
Wow.
So they do their own, and she would do her own. So instead of going to Toys R Us and spending like $300, something that she spent like half a day on. So yeah, so that's the DIY that she loves to do, and she's into painting and drawing and all those sorts. Yeah.
Okay.
I can so resonate with Ju and the slime, because I think the kids go online on YouTube now and they learn a lot of things of how they can do themselves, because you know I'm just like Ju. You have to justify, you have to save your own money, and if you can't afford it, find another way.
Okay, since we are only having 14 minutes left and there are a few questions by the audience, Aaron asks, who are your role models? Aaron from Scale Up. For me, gosh, I cannot think of a female role model right now at this point of time, but I tend to always look up to Melinda Gates, the things that she believes in, like the way she wants to use all her money to help other female entrepreneurs. She is definitely one of the role models I'm looking at. What about you guys? Maybe Nadia?
Yeah, sorry, I had to turn my video because it started raining here, so I'm a bit worried about connection issues. Yeah, so I have a few people for different reasons. Like I look up to them for different reasons, but for business in particular, I admire my late grandfather because he is the epitome of what we describe a business person should be. You know, someone who's with passion, someone who cares about solving problems. So he was an ex-Marine. So when he retired, he basically funneled all his savings into this sundry shops that he had near the neighborhood. So I always enjoy going back to the hometown and going to basically help him in his shop, which directly translating into, you know, taking can for free. So I enjoy that bit of learning about how he entertained customers. And I remember when he was selling those spices, right, for people, he will always ask, if let's say someone asked for spice A, he will always ask, what is this for? And then the person say, okay, I want to cook this dish. And he's actually, this spice is not that great for that dish. Try this one. So that it shows that he actually cares rather than trying to make a sale. And then when he packed it, he will always put like a sample of a different spice in there and say that next time you cook like chicken with this one. And then the next time the customer came, they would buy the sample spice in full size because they've tested it. So in my mind, I think those were the things, the acumen that were put inside my head about how we should interact and with customers and solve problems. So he is someone I look up to with regards to you know, the business space. But for women icon, I actually admire my ex boss. Now she is a personal mentor of mine, Regina Rahim from Nomura. She works in a corporate, yes, but a lot of the way she solves problem and the way she work day in and day out is very much founder type mentality, which I like. So I learn a lot of things from management all the way to even critical thinking and being creative in problem solving, all from her. So these are just the two out of the many that I have that I look up to for different reasons. Yeah.
Maybe Juliana and Miss Renu? Oh my God, I'm sorry. I cannot find the miss. I just have to use Renu.
Okay. I too, I think I don't have one particular role model, but there are a few people who inspire me. I suppose the ethos or the motto in which I live my life is following Gandhi. So you will see in all of my profiles, be the change you wish to see in the world, right? And I think that drives a lot of what it is I want to do and what I have done. The other person that inspires me, and I used to watch her shows, I think when I was a teenager in my early 20s, was Oprah Winfrey. And I think the one she always makes, is live your fullest life. And I think that that's one of the things that I keep telling my children as well, as in, you have one opportunity, so live your fullest life. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think the CEO and founder of Endeavor, which is Linda Rottenberg, she has created a movement which has spanned so many different countries and built entrepreneurs that are actually changing the lives and the world of people within their own country. So, she's someone I look up to in terms of what she's achieved.
Okay, maybe the next question, I'm going to pass it to and this question is by Andre, Scale Up as well. And what can be done to encourage more women to be in tech?
What can encourage more women to be in tech?
Yeah.
Okay, one, start right so that they in the sciences, in the STEM and everything, so they have the good foundation, problem solving. But when you start to careers, I remember when I start my with another company in Beta Foundation. So what we want to do is we want to help women. So I talk with my partners, which is Juliana Latif. So one of the things that women need to stay long in the careers is understanding of the companies that women have other things matters in their life, especially their kids. So there were times where your female staff will come to you, my son is have fever or thing. Kids always comes first. So if businesses, startup founders and companies can deal with that, we can keep women longer in careers.
Linda, just a curious question. Does Droppy give you enough or a good incentive in being a mother founder?
Sure. I mean, in Droppy, even the founders group, there's 3 founders. Me, Aizat and Lenice. It's 2 women, 1 man. And if you look into Droppies, we have about 40 team members now. Almost half is female. And every time, and it's not, to be discriminate, male or female, anyone that to us with some reason, we are quite understanding. As long as you deliver your work, then it shouldn't be a problem. We are in IT world anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem for us to accommodate whatever that needed. Yeah.
The next question is from Jermaine and also from Aizat. I'm going to combine them both because both of them are quite similar questions. What are the initiatives in funds within government agencies and even the private VCs like me? What are the support out there to incentivize women entrepreneurs? Perhaps Juliana, you want to go ahead for this one?
Yeah. As mentioned, we do not have quotas. We do not, at the moment, we do not have specific policies or whatnot for women or startups with women founders and co-founders, right? But again, it resonates on the top management as well as the board members. That the fact that we need to look out for more women founders or startups that are led by women. So it's more of I would say, not so much of something structured or something in terms of policies, but it's something that we want to push for, the women within the organization that we want to push for. We want to cheer and we want to be able to do something about it. Yeah, so probably we'll come up with something. Actually, recently at our last approval meeting, if we look at the approvals for our recent grant as opposed to last time, I think last time our approvals for women founders and co-founders about 20-30%. For the last one, I would say almost 1 year, actually the percentage has dropped because a lot of the companies that we fund are deep tech. Looking at the percentage, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 15-16%. So those are the things that it's a bit worrying, right? So at the last approval, one of the IC member, the approval member, who's also one of our board members, actually highlighted, said, hey, we should be able to push for more women founders. What else can we do? So these are the things that we probably be looking at this year. Looking at how can we help? What are the things? If there's any organizations or platforms we can to fund and to encourage, right? To encourage and probably bring everybody on the same playing field, because we've always approved and look at companies based on merit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're a woman married, you're single, whatever. For us, it's what you're doing and what the diversity, the strength of the team and all that. So
I think you bring up a good point regarding that we just choose them because they are qualified and because they are female. And Aizat asked a question regarding, would it be, what do you guys think if we were to actually allocate a percentage, let's say 10% of our total fund size into female businesses? Would that be, a downside, or actually, I don't know. What do you guys think? For my side, I'm an investor, so I'll probably still be like, I don't really care if you're a female, you're transgender or whatever, but as long as you come to meet a very good business model and you are persistent and you're passionate with what you are building, I'll fund you. But what do you guys think?
I would agree with that, and I think that most women founders would agree with that as well. They don't think they want to have, and I certainly wouldn't want to be given special treatment. Yeah, it should be meritocratic all the way. I think that in Malaysia, actually, the government has been pretty good. There are a lot of incentives and funds. May not necessarily be VC funds, but there are a lot of incentives and funds which are directed to women. And sadly, they are mostly underutilized. But I think going back to Linda's point just now in terms of what can be done, I don't think it's, having policies about funding or giving allocations or quotas. I think it is about, if you really want to support women coming back to tech or staying in tech, you've got to support the fact that they need a community, that they need to have maybe childcare at the office, right? So every office basically, it's mandatory to have childcare facilities so that mothers don't have to think about or worry about their kids, they're just right there. I think in addition to that, if you have incentives that allow for flexible work time, a lot of women, not just women founders, in my team, literally it's 70% women. But I think the reason why they like coming back to work, because every single one of them was not working before. And I actively sought out to bring them back into the workforce by giving them the flexibility of working when they wanted to work, and give them the flexibility to know that, look, we have a schedule. As long as you follow the schedule, I don't really care whether you work 9 to 5, 10 to 4, 3 to 6, I don't care anything. It's more goal oriented. You get the job done, that's all I need. And I think if we have policies like that, it would encourage more women to stay in tech and to stay in jobs, not just tech.
What do you guys think about starting on since, when they are K-12, even K-12 where school should be teaching them about the importance of STEM, also to expose the kids into, coding, basic codings, Is schools doing that already? Because I'm sorry, I don't really have a kid right now.
Angel, I think we're going to have 1 hour just to talk about what schools should be doing.
Maybe one sentence. What can school do to encourage more women in tech?
I think the first thing is they should actually help the teachers understand tech because the kids, I think, understand tech than the teachers nowadays.
Yep, that is definitely true. Great point. And before we round out the entire session, what is the one piece of advice that you would like to remind yourself or to other young female entrepreneurs, not just female entrepreneurs, but young aspiring entrepreneurs out there? Everyone, maybe Juliana, you can start first.
Hang on, sorry. I would have to say that be brave, be confident. You can do it. There's opportunities out there. Just because there's a lot of men doing very well, we can do it too. Look at Haslinda, look at Renu, look at Nadia, look at you, Angel, right? So I think it's just to have confidence that you can do it. Find a balance between work and life. Yeah, so I think we can.
Okay, Miss Renu.
I think that the one thing maybe we should all be reminded of ourselves is that we are our own worst critics. We are our own limiting factor. So I think a positive mindset, looking at what's incentives are available, looking at the role models that are out there, it's just believing that you can do it. Is what we all need to do, male or female.
Okay. Linda, what would you tell to your kids, or maybe what would you tell to your 18-year-old self back then?
I would say find the things you love and keep learn, unlearn and relearn of the things you love so you can be the best of it. Doesn't matter the things you love is 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, 10 things. They will be happy. Doesn't matter what it is.
Okay. Nadia, last to you.
Hold on. Okay. I think people should define their own success the way they can be proud of themselves rather than following the flow or looking what's hot and what's current. So define their own success, and if they want to be an entrepreneur, solve a problem they actually care about.
Okay. Thank you guys for this session, and we are on time. I mean, thank you everyone that is tuning in this session, and really glad that we have Juliana from SPV Cradle Grant and Miss Renu, Linda from Droppy, Nadia from Pod, all of this your female leaders from literally different backgrounds and solving different issues in the entire ecosystem. Very great having you guys in this panel, and I really learn a lot from you guys, and also probably the audience as well have learned so much to you guys and from you guys. And thank you so much. And I think that's it. I
Thanks,
don't know how to
Thanks,
end
everyone.
this session. Thank you, KL Startup Summit. You may end the session now.